Hello, everyone. We are here in April 2021. After a difficult year, I wish you all remain safe and healthy in these difficult times. We are reaching our third episode of our World Heritage Talks. I hope you have enjoyed the two previous editions of these talks, and if not, you can watch the video on our YouTube channel. I'm Maria Eugenia Siguencia, Mary, and today we will be having an interesting chat with two members of this initiative. I would like to welcome Christina Cameron and Joe Kallas, who will be sharing with us their perspectives about being part of our World Heritage Initiative. Christina is part of the University of Montreal in Canada, and she's the former Heritage Director of Parks Canada and former President of the World Heritage Committee. Joe is an architect and a cultural heritage specialist who is joining us today from Lebanon. In this occasion, we are in the third episode of our talk series, so we will be having a special importance to this number 3. I have some questions prepared, so let's get started. First of all, I would like to ask you to shortly introduce yourselves and tell us how you became involved in the All World Heritage Initiative. Christina, please make us the honor to start with your intervention.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you for the invitation. Young and old, we're here together. I started, as you said, I started working at Parks Canada and worked with cultural heritage sites and national parks for 35 years. And in the process of that, one of the jobs that got tacked onto my job was representing Canada at the World Heritage Committee. So my first exposure really was working on nominations in Canada to the World Heritage List and also attending all the meetings. And in that process, I chaired the meeting twice. The first time very easily in 1990, very small group, 200 people. And then in 2008, which was maybe 1,500 people. So they were quite different meetings. And then I so-called retired and went to the University of Montreal, where I had a Canada Research Chair in Built Heritage. And there I was not so much in the day-to-day operational side, but was really taking a step back and trying to understand the processes and concepts behind World Heritage. And that's what I was teaching and what I was researching. And after 14 years, I've left the university. I'm now a professor emeritus. And at about the same, I left in 2019, and that's just about the time when there were rumblings about our World Heritage as a new initiative. So that's kind of my role. I've gone from bureaucrat to teacher and researcher to, I don't know what we call ourselves now, an NGO.
Thank you, Christina. What a wonderful journey. So, dear Joey, please, the virtual floor is all yours.
Hello, and thank you, Maria, for your invitation for this talk. And I'm really glad to join Christina for this chat too. So I'm Joe Kallas. I'm an architect specialized in the conservation and restoration of cultural heritage. I'm a member of SIPA Heritage Documentation, which is a scientific committee of ICOMOS and ISPRS, and a member of SIPA Emerging Professionals. I'm also a member of ICOMOS Lebanon. Currently, I work in Lebanon as a conservation architect, and also I work in the field of heritage documentation and digitization. As for how I got involved in our World Heritage Initiative, it was through Professor Mario Santana, who invited me to be part of the core team of the Transformational Impacts of Information Technology team, that Christina Cameron is the coordinator, and Mario and Haifa are the co-conveners. And that's how my journey into our World Heritage started. And then I met Mike, of course, virtually, and I got involved a little bit also in the Global Outreach team and the Debate 2021 team.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you both for letting us know a bit more about yourselves. Say that, let's move to the first question. In the field of cultural and natural heritage, could you please give us your top 3 World Heritage sites and why do you like them the best? Let's first listen to Joy. What are those places that appeal to you, Joy? Please.
Okay, this is a tough one. I will try to narrow it down to 3, even though I will be subjective in my first choice, but I have to choose this World Heritage sites from Lebanon, which is Wadi Kadisha, or the Holy Valley, and the Forest of the Cedars of God. The Kadisha Valley is one of the most important early Christian monastic settlements in the world. Its monasteries, many of which are of great age, stand in dramatic positions in a rugged landscape, and shows how resilient are the Lebanese people since the early ages to today. Nearby are the remains of the great forest cedars of Lebanon, highly prized in antiquity for the construction of great religious buildings like the legendary Temple of Solomon and several important Roman temples. So for me also, what makes the site very important is that it links at the same time a culture and a natural site and shows clearly the linkages and the interrelation between both of them. My second site would be the cultural landscape and archaeological remains of the Bamiyan Valley in Afghanistan. For me, the site has a great symbolism of the negative effect of terrorism and cultural conflicts in our world, and this lack of the culture of acceptance of the other or the different. And that recently we're facing it again in several World Heritage sites like in Iraq, in Syria, and Libya, unfortunately. My third site is the Great Wall of China, this impressive structure with significant architecture built by humans. And that for me is a proof that there's no boundaries for the human capabilities once there's the will to achieve. And that's why I believe that our World Heritage Initiative is going to reach its main goals when you see all of those heritage professionals joining forces together with a great passion towards one goal.
Thank you, Joy. You have taken us to the Asian side of the world, and thank you for having us virtually there. What about you, Christina?
My first choice would be where Joe left off, and that is in Asia, at the site of Angkor. And in Angkor, I was sent there quite young by UNESCO to see the condition of the site after the international force left after the Civil War. And there were very few people there. There was, I think, one functioning telephone in Siem Reap. And if anyone's been there since that time, you know that it's now a booming tourist area. But it was very, very quiet then. And it was such a remarkable experience to see that place huge, the temples, the sculpture, and this massive system of hydraulic dams and the whole world in this huge archaeological park. It was an important moment for the Khmer to understand how powerful the Khmer Empire and civilization were in that period, sort of the 1,000 years ago. So that was very impressive. My second choice would be in Canada, a bit like Joe. I like my sites close to home. Is Gros Morne National Park in Newfoundland. And this is in the very east coast of Canada, and it's where the continental drift occurred and where the bottom of the sea came up in the tectonic plates where they crashed together. And in fact, when you go to that park, you look up and go up to the top of small mountains that are flat, and it's actually the seabed, and there are sea fossils up there. So that's like just the massive force of the earth making. For me, it's a very impressive site. And the third one that I would choose would be really close to home, which is the Rideau Canal World Heritage Site, which is 200 kilometers long. And I live in Ottawa. It goes through Ottawa, of course, but it's also where my cottage is. And so I'm actually, in the summer, I live inside a World Heritage Site. And what really impresses me is the crossover of culture and nature. It's a huge cultural landscape, really, and the wildlife is fantastic, and the old lock stations and everything are still the way they were 200 years ago. It's a very, very impressive site. And I mean, it was military to begin with. Now it's essentially recreational, but it's really it's a beautiful site, and it has been, the World Heritage designation has caused people to really care about it. So I'm very happy about that.
Thank you, Christina. What a wonderful places you've just talked about. What about all the sites composing the World Heritage List? What do you think are the three main threats that today they face? So please, let's continue with Christina.
Well, thinking about that, I would say two are kind of on the physical sites, and then one is really about the intangible value. So I think the biggest physical threats are development, whether that's mining in protected areas or whether that's huge developments like the stadium that they're proposing to build up in Liverpool and so on, like these huge developments. That's a big threat. And I think climate change, because climate change doesn't affect just natural areas, it affects structures, it affects everything. And that's really the storms, the rain, the shift of species and so on. I think that's going to really be very challenging for World Heritage Sites. It's going to be a lot of adaptation and mitigation. The third one is perhaps also an opportunity, and it's a bit the artificial construct of World Heritage, in that we single out this superior value called outstanding universal value. And unfortunately, at the same time, it cuts out a lot of other values that are important at sites. And I think now there are so many people who have stories and have experience on the same places. And so I think that these sometimes they're dissonant, and sometimes they're contested, and sometimes they're just shut out. And I think finding the place to bring all the narratives that are associated with the place is a challenge. I mean, I don't call it a threat particularly, except the process to get to a place where all the stories are told fairly and equally is going to be quite difficult in some cases. So that I see that one of the multiple narratives as being a big challenge for World Heritage.
Yes, it's definitely something that we need to think about. Let's hear you, Joe.
Yeah, I completely agree with Christina. I mean, for me, I will narrow all the threats to one, which is the lack of education. If you are well educated, you will accept others regardless of their differences, and that will reduce conflicts. If you are well educated, you will appreciate the nature and sustainability, and you will start thinking green and changing your lifestyle accordingly. And this will reduce climate change and pollution and uncontrolled urbanization. If you are well educated, you will also learn not to be greedy, and that what matters in life are a lot more than what you actually have or earn, and this will reduce wars. So I strongly believe that all of the threats that our World Heritage Sites are facing today are directly, in a way, linked to education.
Thank you, Joey. We are seriously now in the point of wondering what actually education means for world heritage and for all our culture. So now let's talk about, and thank you very much for this really insights. Now let's talk about your role in the Our World Heritage Initiative. What do you think are your 3 personal strengths you consider the most valuable and suitable for the Our World Heritage Initiative? Let's continue with Joey this time.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. I guess some things that all of us in our World Heritage have are, teamwork, determination, and dedication. Without teamwork and trustedness between each others, we could have not achieved what we are already achieving as a group of people. And if we were not enough committed to achieving the main goal of this initiative, we wouldn't persist that much given the hectic life that each one of us is running in parallel to the initiative. So I guess teamwork, determination, and dedication.
Thank you, Joey. We're really lucky to have you. Christina, what about you? Tell us what you consider those key strengths.
Well, I would say I certainly agree with Joe, and what he hasn't said is what a great outgoing personality he has, and that's a big sign of leadership. So I need to say that. I would say on the technical side, I bring a lot of knowledge and experience, I guess, and I bring this. I'm a writer, and so I help with all the texts. I'm a native English speaker and I'm a writer, so I can do that. But I think what I bring more to it is passion, and I don't really know why. After 50 or 55 years, I'm still as passionate today about this field as I was when I began, and I don't actually, there's no merit in that, it just is what it is. And the other thing is I really like working with young people and with people of different backgrounds. I really like people, and it doesn't matter where you go in your work. In a way, it's people that make it different. It's the people that make it worth doing. So I mean, I bring these technical skills if you want, but I think it's more my passion, and I really am where Joe is on the teamwork. We could never have done this without respecting each other and working in. It's an extraordinary example of co-creation, I would say. I haven't seen, it's a new experience for someone of my generation where we were always taught to work individually. And it's really wonderful to see the amount of trust there is among the whole team.
Yeah, it's definitely a dream team, right? We are very glad to have you both on board with this strength that you're really contributing with, and we are really glad for all the effort and the contribution you're making. So let's finish this episode with a short story about one experience you have been involved in and that you consider that could be of inspiration and heritage protection for the coming generations, and of course for the ones closely working in the Our World Heritage Initiative. So Christina, could you make us the honor?
Oh dear, I don't really like talking about myself too much, but anyway, I think really something going back at the beginning of my career, because I've so appreciated working with young people in this initiative and feeling their energy and enthusiasm and their capacity to achieve. And when I was very young, just beginning my career, I lived in Quebec City and I didn't really speak the language very well. My supervisor was in Ottawa and he didn't speak the language at all. And I was assigned to do inventory of the interiors to research and then inventory the interiors of about 200 old buildings in Quebec City within the historic walls. So that was like an incredible challenge. And I had to hire people. I'd never hired people. And everybody just left me alone. And it was quite extraordinary that they trusted me. And I did it. And we did it really well. In fact, for the first half year, we operated out of my living room because we didn't know we could ask to have office space. I mean, this was really the beginning of my work. And it was wonderful. We did a good job. We identified and did a lot of research in 18th and 19th century archives and so on. There's a big archive in Quebec because it's the French notarial system, so there's a lot more information. And then we went inside all those buildings for a whole winter and inventoried them one after the other and measured the moldings and all this. I mean, it was all new work. And the fact is, nobody was standing over us and saying, that's terrible. No, don't do it like this, do it like that, and so on. And I've always kept that memory of the empowerment that I was given and the chance to kind of prove myself. And I think, you know, if you kind of are given an ultimate goal by somebody and then left to do it the way you think best, I think that's really quite wonderful. So I don't know if that's an inspiration to anybody, but it certainly, I feel that way about the young people that I'm working with, like Joe.
Great, what a great experience. Thank you, Christina, for sharing this really nice memory with us. And let's finish with Joey. Tell us.
It's always inspirational to listen to Christina. As you all know, a tragic explosion happened in Beirut on August 4th, 2020, and enormously affected the built heritage fabric of the historic city. So after a few days, I volunteered alongside other heritage professionals with the BBHR initiative that was created by the Director General of Antiquities of Lebanon, DGA, and I led the 3D documentation and digitization mission in order to digitize the highly most affected buildings to provide the DGA with accurate 3D models to facilitate the emergency interventions by taking quick measures from the models to implement the propping and the sheltering of those buildings, and also provide architecture stories with accurate models to quickly quantify the damages and put together assessment reports to be submitted to funding agencies. And now I look back and I see this enormous job done by the team that I quickly trained on site. And it was the first time that Beirut or Lebanon were massively documented and digitalized. And all of us were volunteering. It's just surreal. And it gives me hope for the future of the city and the future of the heritage protection of Lebanon, regardless of the damages and destruction that were caused by the explosion. The fact that there are still professionals and young professionals who are willing to offer their full time without expecting anything in return. And let me tell you that currently Lebanon is passing through the biggest economic crisis in its history and risk their lives because, as you know, Lebanon during this period also was being hit by a strong wave of the global pandemic. So being every day on site nonstop was a lot risky. It gives me a sort of a relief that no matter how much our political system or government are corrupted, the local community is what makes a country sustainable. That means the local community is what also makes heritage sites sustainable. And this is what I like about our World Heritage Initiative, that one of our goals is to recreate this missing link between local communities and their sites, to give life to the sites.
Wow, Very, very nice, Joey. Thank you very much for this wonderful exchange of ideas and inspiring stories. Definitely, it has been a pleasure to have this chat with you both. It's great to count with your enthusiasm, expertise, and experience from you. Thank you very much to all the subscribers of our newsletter. Keep watching the upcoming episodes of our World Heritage Talks. And don't forget to follow the activities of the 2021 debates. Every month there is a new topic, and April would be human rights. Take care and see you all next time. Bye-bye.